Well, welcome back, everybody. I'd like to say it's great to be in Washington, D.C., but I think I prefer Iowa. And for those of you that had the opportunity to come out, spend some time in Iowa, go to our great state fair, we appreciate your support. I finished up the 99 county tour while I was at home in Iowa, and it was great to get out across the state. But while I was out and about and talking to families and talking to manufacturers and other industries, it was abundantly clear that Iowans are very, very frustrated with the state of the economy. And it really didn't matter what industry or what location I was in. They are frustrated. They're frustrated with this administration. They are frustrated with Bidenomics. It is increasingly difficult to support their families. And it's really tough because even in my communities in southwest Iowa, where I was born, where I was raised, and where I live today, seeing the men and women that I have grown up with, they are two full-time income families now taking on additional jobs just to make ends meet. So folks, when the president is out there talking about how successful Bidenomics has been, I'm pulling the BS card on this, and I'm throwing it down because things are rough on our families. There's no getting around it. And I know sometimes you're in this bubble here in D.C., but again, folks, if you can get out to Iowa, any of our great states, you're going to see a different story when it comes to our families and our businesses. So please pay attention. So with that, Iowans are really frustrated with the taxes that they're paying to this federal government when they hear us talk about Washington, D.C., and how a number of our federal agencies' headquarter buildings are only 25% occupied. Okay, where are all of those workers? I know they're still on the payroll, right? Is COVID over? Are we able to come to work safely? I think we can do that. And yet we still have a huge number of people from this city that are telecommuting. They're teleworking. And there's no reason we should be doing that. When you have bureaucrats that are doing bubble baths during their conference calls for work, when they are golfing during business hours, and yet they're still getting paid the wages they were pre-COVID, we've got to figure this out. So I've pushed out a letter to all 24 Inspector General offices, and I'm demanding answers. So one, what are these people doing? Who has oversight of the work that is being done by these employees that are so-called teleworking? Okay, two, what are we going to do with all this unused office space? If you're not bringing people back to work, we don't need to lease all of these buildings. We don't need all of these buildings. How much money can we save if we get rid of it? And then finally, folks, and this really gets under my skin, is that how many of these federal employees who get location-based pay, Washington, D.C. wages, who are teleworking from a lower-cost area, how many of them moved away during COVID and are still getting paid for living in Washington, D.C.? It is fraud, folks. It's fraud. So you federal employees that are out there, we're coming after you. We're coming after you. Let's do the right thing.